My name is Isabella, and this is Medical Horror Stories. This is a safe space for staff or patients of the medical field. Whether your story is funny, horrifying, or odd, this is a place for you to vent and have your personal experience shared. I am not here to demonize the medical field. As someone who works in the medical field and is a long participating patient, I wholesomely believe in its ideals of helping those in need. I advocate for a reform to its overall structure, these stories serving as evidence to its lack of growth at the expense of those who seek care or work within it. Every like, subscribe, and interaction helps me spread these stories and bring awareness. Stay till the end to hear the charity of the day. Now on to the story. Bye bye, baby. Thanks for letting me tell you my story. This happened in the summer of 2021 in Eastern Washington. I'm fully educated in nursing from another country. When I immigrated, I wanted to continue my work, but none of my credentials were recognized. So instead, I remarried and started a family and was a stay-at-home mom. Once my children were older, my husband and I agreed to me returning to work to help pay bills and put food on the table. I decided to also apply for a year-long program to become a medical assistant. It was a piece of cake. Granted, some of the terminology was different, but I was already a nurse, so I breezed through classes and quickly entered the workforce. In 2021, I was in my second year as a medical assistant. During the first 2 years, I opted for a per diem position initially in order to get some notoriety. Eventually, I decided to settle in one location. There was a new hospital seeking new residents. The prospects were strong, and so I signed with them thinking this would be a great opportunity. How wrong I was. I was on a 90-day probation from hour one on the first day. Because I didn't even last one day, I sensed trouble. The hospital assigned me to shadow a truly incompetent girl, who I'll call Nancy. I was old enough to be this girl's grandmother, and she gave off strong, typical holier-than-thou vibes. She was clearly not happy with having to train me. This location specialized in circumcisions for infants. The first patient for the day was in the waiting area, and Nancy told me we needed a sterile field for the instruments. Anyone in the medical field should understand how extensive and fragile a sterile field is. Narrator note: a sterile field is a completely sterile tray of surgical necessities. It is the complete destruction of microorganisms that you can neither look away from when setting up and can never have your hands or object drop below your waist. Everything is under the impression of being absolutely 100% sterile. Any shred of doubt or contamination means you need to start over the process. He told me this means everything has to be sterile, but very condescending, like I didn't even know what sterile meant or what a sterile field was. I knew full coverage PPE had to be used. I knew that once established, a sterile field could not be left unattended, and it should be established as close to time of surgery as possible. Failure to apply these core principles increases the chances of contamination by airborne particles. This puts the patient at increased risk for infection, and yet I was essentially being figuratively mansplained to about every detail you can imagine that goes into MA. Instead of letting me set up the field, she physically shoved me aside and told me to stand quietly in a corner and watch how she arranged the instruments. I stood at attention and complied, wanting to maintain a professional space and letting her slights go. When she was done, I watched her grab the packaging and leftover wrappings and shove them in the garbage that was next to her. I expected her to remove the gloves and throw those away as well. But instead, she returned to the sterile field and arranged the instruments while wearing gloves that had been in contact with Lord knew what was in the garbage can. While not using a tool to organize a tray, but instead crossing into the sterile field with these very contaminated hands to arrange the tools herself. Then she threw the gloves away. She must have realized what she had done, because she turned to look at me with an "oh God, what did I just do?" manner. When she saw the look of horror on my face, her face grew red as a tomato. But rather than create a new sterile field, she hurried us out of the room. I was ordered to return to my computer. After I finally recovered from my shock, I wanted to find Nancy and offer to create a new sterile field under her supervision. When I found her and made this offer, I was told to shut up and go back to the desk. She had been an MA for 2 years and knew how to do her job. I complied, and I returned to my computer, and I passed the room where the circumcision was going to take place. The doctor and the resident were already in the room, discussing how the procedure is performed. At that point, I felt a hand around my arm and was forcefully pulled away from the surgery room by my hiring manager. Nancy had told them that I had left my desk, and before I could explain what had happened, I was told to hand over my badge. In the manager's mind, I had left my assigned post, and that was considered job abandonment. I was escorted off the premises. The friend that referred me to the hospital called me later that same week. Apparently, the lead surgeon and Nancy had a relationship, and they had been observed being intimate. I never asked what was meant by that. I was afraid my friend would have told me they were seen having sex on the very operating table that Nancy had set up. After witnessing Nancy's quality controls for a sterile field, it would not have surprised me. To this day, I wonder about the poor little boy that was circumcised with dirty instruments.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe so I can make more. Every Monday will be a new video. If you have a story to share, please email Anon medicalstories@outlook.com. All I ask is any people in your story remain anonymous via name change. You will be completely anonymous as well. I may contact you if clarification is needed, and will proofread and clean grammatical errors so it's easier to read. This isn't Reddit, and I am a frequent Redditor. It is very telling when a story is Reddit-esque. Let's keep things honest. Aside from YouTube, you can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Big thanks to the artist Ginger Snaps for working with me on this project. Please check out her work in the description below. Now on to our charity of the day. This next non-profit charity I hold dear to my heart, since this ancient animal plays a huge role in being the biosphere's medical thermometer and letting us know when the environment has an issue. They are the warnings of all warnings and a menace to keeping the mosquito population in check. They survived countless ecological eras. They come in many fun colors. They're slimy and shapely. That's right. It's frogs. More specifically, it's the charity Save the Frogs. Up to 200 species have completely disappeared since 1980, and this is not normal. Amphibians naturally go extinct at a rate of only about one species every 500 years. Amphibian populations are faced with an array of environmental problems, including pollution, infectious disease, habitat loss, invasive species, climate change, and over-harvesting for the pet and food trades. Unless we act quickly, amphibian species will continue to disappear resulting in irreversible consequences to the planet's ecosystems and to humans. A direct quote from the page itself. Founded in 2008 by Dr. Kerry Krieger, a biologist with his PhD in environmental science from the University of Virginia. He works globally to study and recover the endangered populations of over 2,000 amphibian species, nearly 1/3 of the total global amphibian population. The root cause is unfortunately an even larger one: our environment. During the Wild for Change podcast, which interviewed Dr. Krieger, did we get a sneak peek at some of the Save the Frogs accomplishments, such as prevented the construction of a 12-story restaurant and apartment complex on top of one of Canada's last 3 populations of Fowler toads, stopped the city of San Francisco from destroying the Little Yosemite Canyon stretch of Alameda Creek, which is prime breeding habitat for foothill yellow-legged frogs, assisted with or independently led the construction or restoration of 29 wetlands involving over 1,000 volunteers, dispersed over $100,000 in grants to 47 amphibian conservationists in 16 countries, as well as establishing the global holiday Save the Frogs Day, which is on April 28th, with a goal of having 300 frog-related events on that day. Overall, his charity has been awarded America's Best Charity Seal of Excellence, which is awarded to charitable organizations that meet the highest standards of public accountability, program efficiency, and cost effectiveness, as well as the GuideStar Silver Seal of Transparency from Candid, an organization that helps charities show complete transparency and allows donors to research them and verify their track record. GuideStar is authoritative data derived from validated sources, including 990s and direct reporting from the IRS, verified and updated daily. He offers an academy dedicated to learning about frogs and a membership platform for recurring payments, academy access, merchandise, a library of educational resources, and a Discord server. You get 28 days free to try out the academy, with scholarships you can apply to that will cover membership fees if you are low income. Down below in this description, you will find links to the founders' About Me, the acclaimed holiday, donation page, large donation, membership, /learning about frogs, etc., and their accomplishments. We are not sponsored, and thank you for listening.